What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to talk about Sharpening CTS-XHP. Actually, I forgot the most important part. I gotta grab the knife. Okay, so like I said, XHP, we're going to be sharpening it on the Hapstone K1. I left it as you would get basically in the packaging. So I'm going to show you everything you get. We'll assemble it real quick. And sharpen some XHP. So, move this back. This is how you'll get everything that you get. So, this has to be put together. You basically just put the rod in here. There's 2 Allen screws that you just tighten down on the top. There's 2 of them, so one on the bottom, one on the top, bottom here and the top, and you just screw the 2 top ones. The bottom ones are what hold this back rod in place where this stop is. Mine right now is set up for the 1x6 edge pro stones. So you'll turn this and there will be a nut here facing up, and that's how you loosen and tighten it to get the knife in there. Fold the feet out and we're going to be sharpening. I have a collar stop that I'm going to throw on the back of this to keep it from going too far that it ends up coming out. And sometimes if this rod pulls out, you'll end up hitting the blade when it's in. So if this pulls out and it yanks too far, when you go back after it pulls out, you might run your stone into the knife edge, and obviously that defeats the purpose of sharpening, because you will have destroyed your edge, or part of it anyway. I'm going to quickly put Sharpie on the bevel so that I know where I'm hitting with the stones. I'm going to start out with a chef knives to go 400 diamond stone, go to a Shapton Glass 1000, and then an Edge Pro Matrix Diamond 4000, depending how the edge looks, which I think it'll look good. I'll stop there, maybe strop 1 micron diamond paste, or diamond spray rather. Depending, I might go to the Chaucer 10,000. It's cool to get, the mirror polished edges, but XHP is kind of, it's like a D2. It's not a D2 analog, but it has similar properties to D2. It's just a little bit more stainless. And D2 likes to be, in my experience, D2 likes to be a little toothy. I get my best performance out of it that way, but you can, it doesn't hurt to polish. Some people think that polished works out better. It really depends all on how you use the knife. I find that anywhere between right around the 1000 grit edge and then stropped on 1 micron works pretty good for me. I'm gonna just turn this a little bit and pull this in just a hair. There we go. Okay, now we're good. You want to set it so that the tip here and the back part here are, pretty straight with each other. And can see this turns and it locks, you know, pulls it in after this wheel is tightened down to give good tension. So I'll throw the 400 diamond on. I'll show it to you quick. So chef knives to go 400. Put that in. My tension's good. We're going to lay it on the Sharpie. Get the angle finder out. See where we're at for an angle. And right now we are at, I don't know if the camera will pick this up. Hopefully it does. So like 15 degrees. So I'm going to come up to right around 18 or 19. Let's see 19 where that gets us. And we're getting it off at the edge, but it looks like it might be just a little bit lower, so see 18.5 or 6. I think that's our money mark. I don't want to go too low with it. I find that anywhere between like 16 and 20 is really good for me. I have dropped them lower, usually when I freehand. When you go too low on this, sometimes, you know, you kind of get like a funky looking bevel. You don't have to put a lot of pressure, you know, you don't have to push really hard down on it. You just let the stone do the work, especially with diamond. Diamond's pretty abrasive. It's the hardest of the materials in the world, so it cuts steel pretty quick. And I usually don't use water when I use the chef knives to go diamonds. The matrix diamond stones, like, they prefer to be wet. That's how Edge Pro, you know, recommends doing it, and I find that that's the best result. Otherwise it'll clog pretty easily. Now some guys will, you know, just go one side, create the burr, and then go back and do the other. I like to do both sides before I get a burr on one, just because sometimes you'll have like a bigger burr on one side than the other, and then, you know, you can flip the burr really easily and you think that it's even, but sometimes it's not. So I like to get both sides going for, you know, a little bit, and then I'll concentrate on getting the burr and then go up in grits. This is going to be probably a little bit longer of a video. I'm hoping I can shoot for like under 20 minutes. XHP, this is a pretty good example of the steel, and, you know, it's pretty hard, so I'm not really sure how long it's going to take me. The last XHP I did was a chaparral carbon fiber, but I used to do freehand on that most of the time. I didn't have the K1 at the time, it wasn't out. So I do, you can hear that. That's the burr. I have it up to about halfway on the blade. I have to just hit the second half a little bit more. You can see when I'm going faster and I pull back that this does come up. I'm trying to, you know, get through it so that I don't have to keep you guys forever, but it's not a complaint I have with the K1. It's really that I'm, you know, rushing. I should be taking my time, making sure that, you know, everything is even. Now I have a burr. Cool. I'm just trying to get it done so that it's a decent amount of time for you guys. I don't want to have to do like part 1, part 2. And you can go, front to back. You can go on an angle like this. I like to do both, both ways, straight up and down, and a little bit on an angle. Kind of pull on an angle, but forward at the same time, just because I think it leaves a nice scratch pattern, and it seems to cover the angle nicely. And you can see, or you can hear I have the burr, but you can see that this second wing really does, I shouldn't have done that. You're supposed to turn the other way, like this. I probably just moved it a little bit. But you can see that the second wing does help stabilize this, because if I just had this in the middle of the knife, if the center wing was, let's say, right here on the knife, you can't see that. So if this center wing was like right in the middle here, and the knife was turned, the handle was this way, and the knife was more, straight like this, horizontal, I'd get a lot of flex in the tip. The tip would come down every time I lay the stone on it. So that second wing, I ended up getting, after like the second day I had the sharpening system, because I realized that the tips were flexing and I was rounding over my tip every once in a while. So usually we'll just go front to back on this back part, closest to the finger choil, and then as I work over, I'll kind of go front to back, but with a side motion too. And let's see where we're at. Cool, burr everywhere. I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna do some strop motions with the 400. Flip it. Flip it. And I'm just going to throw this back on, double check my angle one more time. 18.5, cool. That's what it was when I first started. I'm going to take the 400 diamond off and throw the Shapton 1000 on. This is the glass. The Shapton Glass 1000 does need water. So I'm going to put that on. And that's on good. I'm going to lay it on the bevel. And now we're going to have to adjust to get to the 18.5. So right now it's saying 17.2. We're going to move it up. $18.5 right there. Okay. And I just have to grab my spray bottle, it's right here. Okay. Let me give it just a spray. Have a little bit of grit left. I did flatten the stone. Okay. I did flatten the stone, I want to say maybe just one sharpening ago. It doesn't really need to be flattened every single time. It's a pretty hard stone, but you should you should flatten it after multiple sharpenings, because it will dish, especially in the middle, because as you can see, I'm not using 100% of the stone. I'm probably using about 70% of the length of it. So the other 30% is going to have more left, and you have to take that 30% that's on the front and the back of the stone off to even it out, because you wear away most of the, like I said, that's probably 60 to 70% of the middle, because that's just where it's hard to go all the way to the end, and that's where the stops are nice, but the stops are almost a must if you want to go use that close to 100% of the stone. Otherwise it'll just pull off, and if you don't have the stops on, you'll pull it right off. You could hear it, and you're going to end up hitting the edge and probably doing damage to it. Now when you freehand sharpen, a lot of times it's good to listen to what the stone's doing. You can hear what the stone is doing now if I stop talking. You can hear that there's change in the sound of it, and you can see all that swarf, which is that black particle, that steel coming off the blade. Obviously not like a ton, but enough that we're making a difference, and this should be pretty sharp when we're done with it. I like freehand sharpening a lot. There's just something really tranquil about it. It's frustrating as hell in the beginning, because you'll probably ruin a couple knives when you first start out, but hey, that's what J. Hinkles are for. And my wife bought me Wüsthoffs that I thought were like the greatest, and they are great knives, don't get me wrong, for Western knives. And once I really learned how to sharpen, and the Wüsthoffs I didn't ruin like I did the Hinkles. Once I figured out how to hold an edge and keep it going, and I got into Japanese knives, it's just a different world. And Japanese knives I find are easier to sharpen than Western, like the Wüsthoffs or Hinkles. The steel's harder, so it's easier to deburr a lot of the time. With a guided system like this, you really shouldn't have to worry about deburring and a lot of like the trouble that you have to go through with freehand, you will avoid with this. It makes it very user friendly. You're not guaranteed a sharp knife. You need to know some things about how to get an edge. If I just gave this to my wife and said, hey, sharpen this, she wouldn't know what to do, obviously, because she doesn't sharpen knives. But if she said, hey, go figure out what's wrong with a horse, I wouldn't know what the hell to do with it, because I didn't grow up around horses like she did. You have to learn, but this definitely takes a lot of the guesswork and the not the learning, because you still need to learn, but you don't need to learn as much. And burr is much lighter right now. Actually, it's probably tough to hear. You can hear my finger on it, but that's not even the burr as much as it is the edge. There's obviously still a burr, but minute. I'm going to pull out the 4000 matrix stone now. These are diamond stones, but they're cast in a resin bonded formula that Edge Pro came out with. They didn't come out with the resin diamond stone, like they didn't invent it, but they have a really good, their formula is awesome. It's it's the best resin bonded stone I've ever used. I'd like to use the nano diamond stones. I've heard they're like amazing, but I like the Veneve a lot. But this Edge Pro, it cuts differently than any other stone I've had. All right, so let's see where this angle is at. We're at 19.8, so we got to go down to 18.5. The reason the angle is changing is because of the thickness of the stones. So the Chef Knives to Go diamond stone is the thinnest by far out of the three that I'm using. The matrix stone is in the middle, and the Shapton Glass 1000 is the thickest. I believe it's like either 5 or 7 millimeters thick of just the stone abrasive. This matrix stone is probably like 4 to 6 millimeters total, and the Chef Knives to Go is like maybe 2 or 3 millimeters roughly. I couldn't measure them, but I just want to get this done so that this isn't a 35 or 40 minute video. I'm already at 21:20, so you know, if anybody's even still here watching, or if I even got anybody to look at the video, I don't want to keep you guys forever, so we're just going to finish this. These are really quick stones. They sharpen fast. This is the 4000, but I think they make as low as like 80 grit, I believe. And then they go up to either 4000 or 6000, I think. There's like a 2300, I think, like an 1100 or something. But so far the Glass 1000 has cut everything that I've put it on. I haven't put it on Maximate. It's probably like the only steel it won't cut. It'll do ZDP 189. It'll do XHP. It'll do S30V, S35VN. What else? It'll do 204P. Diamond, obviously you can. 204P is an M390, Polar M390 analog by Carpenter Steel, which is who makes XHP as well. But diamond will cut any steel. So, you know, if you're looking for stones, diamond, especially if you're a super steel nut, diamond's the way to go. Just because you'll never have to worry about it cutting. Yeah, this is a pretty crisp edge. Just gonna strop a little bit with it. And if you're watching this video and you want to check out my review on the Domino, this is my favorite knife right now. I was actually Outpost 76. Gerald commented on the video, which is pretty awesome, and he said it's his favorite knife too. And the ergos on this thing are just ridiculous. I said to him, it's like the Mannix. It's just like the best of both worlds in my opinion. Like you get like Mannix ergos, so anybody with like large, extra large hands, it's going to be comfortable. But at the same time, you get like that, you know, fun fidget flipper factor. That's a lot of F's. All in one. So, alright, now I'm just going to pull out. This is a 1 micron. This is a Nanocloth strop. It's 1 micron diamond. And I'm just going to check this. We're at 19, so I need to lower it a little bit. 18.5. And you're using no pressure. You can see like that smoke look coming off of it. That's the grit being dry. The Nanocloth I haven't found. You can use it wet or dry. I think wet works just a little bit better. It's not like your traditional like a leather strap with spray or like an emulsion where you let it dry out. I think they work best wet with just a little bit of water. Dr. Matt 357 is a straight razor guy. He's done like a lot of videos on Nanocloth, and he suggests to wet it. I think that is the best way, but I'm not really 100% sure. I never really use it dry. I always just put a little bit of water, or I'll use like my leather strap, and I'll do it by hand. I do have leather straps too for this, but I hardly ever use them. All right. Let's see. Get a piece of paper out. Since I'm doing it on video, hopefully I don't make an ass out of myself. Hopefully this thing actually cuts. I feel like everyone says it's harder to do it on video than it is when it's just like you at home. Take the knife out of here. Dry it off. And see if I can get this edge in. It's gonna be tricky to show it. There, you can see the polish on it. It's pretty polished. Yeah, and it's pretty quiet. You can hear when it cuts. And this is fairly thin paper. It's like, you know, thinner, a little thinner than like your standard notebook paper. That's just like a user, but anyway, it's sharp. Thank you guys for watching, and hope you liked the video. If you want to subscribe, give a thumbs up if you liked it. But thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.